Hi there, I'm Lloyd094 from Obscure Card Collectors. I'm going over the gameplay for Otherworld. This is a new game that's coming out, the Kickstarter for the initial samples are what these cards are from. And I knew Kickstarter is coming out in just a matter of days. So I wanted to go over the gameplay basics. It's actually a lot of fun. Otherworld is a lot like a mix between poker, the classic card game War, and the standard new card games of like Magic the Gathering, etc. In other words, it plays a lot like poker in terms of there's betting and try and get in the player's mind, along with the kind of the layout where you have a grid of 5 different cards. It's a lot like War in that you are going against, here I'll bring up this card so you can see it better. You're challenging, basically going across numbers or the value of the card, how powerful it is. You're comparing that against the others. So if like you have an opponent, it'll be a lot like this layout, and I'll get into this. But 400,000 beats 300,000, and it's a lot like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic in that a lot of these cards have special effects. Now they might be hard to see here. I'm just kind of looking through the camera, but I'll make sure there's a way to see it. But each card is unique in that it changes how the battlefield is affected. That's going to be a lot of where the deck building comes into play. All right, so Otherworld has different kinds of tiers. This will be an evolving format, so as balancing needs to happen, the tier list is right now constantly being worked on since this is still a sort of beta game. There are 6 tiers outside of banned. There are some cards, obviously, that are not allowed as gameplay because they're way before balancing was in effect, or they are so powerful they no longer work and they end up ruining the game. Others are just, they're there for fun, but regardless, they're not allowed in the gameplay. So, your tiers are God, and these include the cards currently, Death, both of the full power versions of Dragon Queen, Imperial Flame Dragon, Kyo, and Spider Queen. And then you get Hero, which is the B tier. Death, Abysmal Doom version, that's one of the super rare alt cards. Lilith the Death Queen, Mikkel and Rutherford, Demons from Hell, Mr. Grimm, and Yan Yan. Then you have the Champion tier, C. This is Balance Koi, Butterfly Girl, Corpse Queen, Dracon Dragon, Stacy Quinn, and Void Lotus. Then you start getting into much more of the numerous cards, and you can start having more of these cards in your deck. This includes the Paladin class, or the Paladin tier, including cards like Byakko the Brave, Cosmic Magician, Cthulhu, and the standard Dragon Queen. You have some from the E tier of Warrior. This includes the Crystal Fang Ice Dragon Standard and Night Hunter or Maiden of Blood Moon. And then you have the F tier. This is the lowest tier, not super powerful at all, but the most numerous. You can have the most of these per deck. It is F for Trainee tier. And this includes, of course, Asana Suki, Ninken Frog, Skeleton Knight, Eclipse Death's Dragon, and a whole lot of others. There are also a couple that we don't know, like Angel of Destruction is technically not on the list as of this moment, but that will get fixed. And then there's a couple of the banned cards, like the promos from Halloween era. They're just fun for collecting, and that's about it. They are right here. They're denoted by the pumpkin, and they're beta, they're fun, but definitely a collector's item, not a gameplay item. Okay, so why is this important? To make a deck, you need 50 cards. Sam is in the process of both doing Tabletop Simulator and making some print-and-play versions of this game. A deck, as I said, consists of 50 cards, and so these range from strong to weak cards, and the maximum cards per deck are based off the tier system. So, for God tier, you get 2 per deck, limited to 1 of each card. For the Hero tier, it's 4 per deck, limited to 1 of each card. Champion is 6 per deck, 1 of each card again. Then you start getting to the lower tiers. At Paladin, it's 8 per deck. You can have 2 of each card. Warrior, 8 per deck, limited 3 of each card. And Trainee, again, the weakest, you can have unlimited of those cards in your deck. So you could have a whole deck of Trainees, but a maximum of 4 of each card. So Akanosuke is a Trainee card. You can have up to 4 of these in the deck, but you could stack it with other trainees if you really wanted. The other thing you will need for playing Otherworld, aside from a deck, are 2 types of tokens. Now, one of these is really what's required, but I'm also recommending doing a second set. First, you have life points. These are great to be using tokens. If you had a whole lot of them, you could do something like, I don't know, MetaZoo tokens or poker chips. These are your life points, and you will be anteing them or betting them against the other player at the beginning and in the middle of each round. Exhaustion points are placed on, and this is mostly just to help you, it's not required. After you resolve an effect, you can put an exhaustion point on that card. And that way you know you've already, done it. There's no complaining. Sometimes as kids, for example, you always go, I didn't resolve that effect yet. Well, this one just helps prevent that. It helps you keep track of where you are and helps your opponent know what cards you have already resolved effects for. So again, you need a deck, and then you need at very least 30 pieces for life points. You can use dice if you want, but that makes it really difficult, and you'll understand why in a moment. And exhaustion pieces, or EP. All right, last thing, I will have up on the screen in front of me a quick example of the play field. This includes the opponent's side and your side. It's just a 5x2 grid. You have 5 slots where you can place your cards, and it actually can matter where you put those cards. And your opponent also has the 5 cards. This game is half about bluffing, half about strategy. A lot of the strategy comes in building your deck, and some of the luck comes in what you draw. So it's a lot of fun. It can be more casual, but it can be pretty competitive. Play goes. I've also made sure not to repeat any cards. Now, of course, the tiers might be out of wonk, but I did it just completely random. I don't know what's going to be here. I just want to show you the overview of how it goes. Okay, first things first. You start the game with 30 life. You also might want these exhaustion points. I've just reused some MetaZoo status effect things. So at the very start of the game, you flip a coin. I guess I go first just to show it. I'm going against myself anyway. This is important though. The person who moves first is known as the aggressor. So every odd turn in the gameplay, you want to know how many rounds you have. If you have a piece of paper, that might help you. But the person who starts first, in this situation it's going to be this, is known as the aggressor for that round. The next turn it swaps off to the other player, and every other turn the person who starts the round is the aggressor. The aggressor has a slight advantage, so you do actually want to go first in this game. So next step, you ante life. Each player takes whatever turn it is. So in this case, it's turn 1. We're just starting off. Each player antes 1 life because it's turn 1. Now, if it's turn 3, each player would do 3 life, but we're just doing as turn 1. Then you shuffle the deck. We're gonna assume I've already shuffled this just so I don't have to go through because they're really thick. And you draw 2 cards. Okay, these cards go to your hand. There's 2 cards for here and 2 cards for here. Then you take the top card of each deck and discard it. Ooh, this one hurts. This one hurts a little, but not as much as this. This is a 700. This is a 300,000. Okay, once those are discarded, then we are ready to start placing the top 3 cards. So imagine, if you will, a grid. You have 5 different spots, and those spots will go directly against the other. So if I place a card here, and the opponent places a card here, these 2 will face off against each other. That's where the numbers come into effect. So we start off, each player takes 3 cards from the top of their deck and places it onto the field. Then when both players are ready, they flip. So that way there's no unfair advantage saying, ooh, you have a strong card over there. I really need to move this other card. As it stands right now, there's Lilith versus Dragon Queen. Lilith has 700, Dragon Queen has 300. This would win. Nothing's in the first slot, nothing would win here. Akatsuki versus whatever, this doesn't matter. Kyaku, 400 versus Cthulhu, 500. Cthulhu would also win. Corpse Queen is not terribly dangerous at 200 right now. You can play the game without any effects. For learning purposes, I'd actually recommend doing a couple rounds without effects just so you understand how the gameplay flows, then add in effects. Now we get to the bet stage. You do this twice. Each player can, it's not required, but can bet an extra point. Now this is trying to bluff. Now in this case, I'm gonna pretend I don't know what's going over here because I really don't. In this case, we have Kyo and Arabian Bearded Dragon in our hand. Arabian Bearded Dragons is 300, but its power is Volcanic Flare. Increase the force of this card by 100,000 for each dragon on your side of the field. Right now we don't have any dragons, so that one's not super helpful for us. The other card we have is Kyo, Protector of Man, a strength of 700. The power is Blade of Justice, saying negate the effect and defeat up to 2 opposing Chaos cards before combat. Now there are types. Chaos is the spikes. Like that. So this one could actually be pretty useful if we're going against Chaos. Problem is there's only one Chaos here, so we don't know, but we still want to bluff. So again, it's up to you. We put in, we ante 1. And our opponent also wants to bluff against us. Well, it's truly a bluff because I have no idea what's going on. So they're also anteing. It's like, okay, great. Now we're at the end of that stage. Then we flip a card each from one of our decks. And these, again, we'll place one of our empty slots. It doesn't matter where. When both slots are chosen, then you draw. This one is a terrible outcome. Akanosuke's winning here, and in this case, the Crystal Fang Ice Dragon is winning against Corpse Queen. So now it's a 50-50. There's 2 wins, 2 losses on each side. So we have another bluff stage. We still need to populate this by the last card in our deck, or the last card being used in the round. I don't feel good enough to bluff this round. But say my opponent's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what's in these cards. I'm also going to add another to the ante. We revealed last card. Dragon Queen full power at 700 versus Balanced Koi at 400. We're at our final bet stage. We can choose to bet 1, and then we're ready to go to the replace stage, step 7. This is where the cards in your hand come in. We can place 1, none, or both of these cards. Say, for example, we don't like Aliona, Daughter of Leshy. That's a super weak card compared to Akanosuke. It's not going to be that hard to beat. We want to take the Arabian Bearded Dragon on it, so it's at least a tie. That's probably our best step there. So we can go and say, okay, we're going to do it. Place it face down. Now they know where our card is, where we're placing a card, but they don't know what the card is, and they know what it's against. Our other card, Kyo, Protector of Man, we do want to place this one. This one's super strong at 700. The one we're struggling the most against right here is Corpse Queen, okay? We're going to face down against Corpse Queen. Then we flip. Whew, this works in our favor for here. We're winning here, we're winning here. This is 500 versus 200. 300 versus 300, tie. 600 versus 700, still winning. 700 versus 400, losing there. So actually, overall, we're doing really good right now. Now it comes to step 8, activate effects. Starting with the aggressor, we each take turns. So because I'm the aggressor in this case, I can go first. I really have no idea what the effects do, or not enough to have a really good idea. So I'm just going to go start with Kyo, Protector of Man, and then negate the effect of and defeat up to 2 opposing cards before combat. Now, the ones I want to negate, I have 3 options. Vampire Girl, Death Destroyer of Worlds, and Dragon Queen full power. All 3 of these are chaos. They have the icon. Clearly, the ones I'm most scared of are these 2, so I'm going to completely destroy them. I believe that's how it goes. The opponent's going to start with Crystal Fang Ice Dragon. Ice Blast. Choose one of your opponent's cards on the field. That card does not go to the discard pile after this round. Basically, it's freezing the card to the field. He's going to choose Arabian Bearded Dragon. This card for the next turn has to stay there. And essentially, you go back and forth until all the cards are taken care of. So let's assume all these cards are still on the field. They all have gone through whatever. This is what's left. We finally get to the showdown phase. This is where you compare the cards directly across from each other. So this card against this, etc. All the way. You don't go cross, nothing. It's directly across. Kyo, 700 versus Crystal Fang, 600. Kyo wins. I'm going to put this back for now, and I'm going to pull any wins down so it's easier to see. Vampire Girl of 200 versus Cthulhu of 500. Cthulhu wins. Bearded Dragon versus Konosuke. This is a tie. I'm not going to move it. Death versus Lilith. Lilith wins at 700 versus 600. And then Balance Koi versus Dragon Queen Full Power. Dragon Queen Full Power wins at 700 versus 400. And so in this situation, I would win on this side. This is 3 wins versus 1. I would take all the life points and add it to my side, and then we'd discard all the cards from the field, and we'd go to the next round. So the next turn, this guy over here, my opponent, would be the aggressor. He'd go first in resolving. And when we have to ante at the beginning of the turn or beginning of the round, we'd do 2 because it's round 2. Or again, if it's round 4, we'd be doing 4. The game goes until there are no remaining life points or no cards to play. And that's it. It's actually really fast for the most part. Knowing what your effects are is probably going to be the hardest part of the game. If you're just going to learn the game, I'd start by taking off and taking out the active effects. So that doesn't matter who's the aggressor at that point. You just go the power versus the power. And it's also fast game. If you want to play the fast game, you can do it too. It doesn't have to be just treated as an easy mode. All right. I hope this does at least a decent overview of the game. Again, not everything's out. Sam will be providing Tabletop Simulator at some point in the future, along with print and play cards, so you can test things out on your own and understand how the game works and get a feel for it and see if you really like it. Personally, I like it a lot. I think it's fun. It has enough wild luck swing along with strategy that it's interesting. It's not pure strategy. It's not pure luck. That's cool to me. If you have questions, you're always free to ask down below in the comments. I will have links to the Otherworld Discord and his Instagram and website in the description, so that way you can get easy access there. And without further ado, thanks for watching.